Together we are stronger. Love is not an easy event. Even though we have this as a gift within us, you, in your life and in your practical experience, know how much it hurts. Because love is this. Love is an event that is eternalized in us by the very strength of being what it is, and love cannot conceive of unhappiness. Where there is love, there can be no unhappiness. There can be suffering, but unhappiness. But in life, we have two possibilities. Or do we suffer the pain of loving and be happy? We suffer the pain of not loving, that we are unhappy all our lives. That is why Jesus went up to the mount once to tell his friends the great meaning of happiness. And certainly the disciples were waiting for a magic formula, just as we hear all the time today in the world. Formulas for happiness that are absolutely easy. One thing worries me about this formula for happiness. How can you understand that someone can be happy crying as they can in the moment of hunger? And how can we reconcile two realities and discover happiness? How can a situation that apparently brings unhappiness be transformed? When you discover, for example, your pain, your tears, you have to understand that this tear, this pain, is the source of human happiness. And the beauty of life often lies not in what we can see, but in what we can see, from what the eyes cannot see. Only those who have already known how to delve into what comes before can understand happiness. Because human life is concrete, and the moment we discover it, it gains meaning. It gains meaning as we delve into before to later know the true after. We can only speak of joy if we first knew how to speak of sadness. We can only speak of consolation if we first knew how to speak of despair. If you still can't discover what truly makes you happy or fulfills you, if perhaps you haven't yet discovered the true meaning of your life, if you are still sad, if you're still unhappy, perhaps it is because you haven't yet been able to delve into the mystery of your sadness. Perhaps you haven't yet been able to delve into the mystery of your suffering, and so you've gotten nothing out of it other than disappointment. Life is like that. If today you wanted to write a report on your life and discover how much you've grown in your story, if today you wanted to write a report on your life, perhaps remember who you are, write a report on who you are, tell the world who you are, you just have to write a report on everything you've suffered. Human suffering is very similar. It just changes address. My mother used to say all the time, each one in their own corner suffers their own amount. If today you had the opportunity to say who you are, you wouldn't know how to say it if you didn't say it together. Of everything that has happened, that has marked you, that has defined you, everything you've suffered, everything you've let go, everything you've buried in the whole life story that has passed through your days, through your home, through your family, because there is no concrete human being outside of experience, of suffering, of everything you have to commit yourself, of everything you had to fight for, of everything you had to reconcile within yourself. And there is your identity, there is your mark, there is your face, in the life you committed yourself to, in the loves you loved, in the children you raised, in the sleepless nights, in that child, so that that child could have life, so that he or she could continue to live, to defeat one who knew how to fight. We alone, that only those who know how to fight can win. We are time, in history, the sum of everything we have been able to prepare. But it is not suffering for its own sake. It is not suffering for the sake of suffering when Jesus presents us with a way of being a man, a way of being a woman. He is showing precisely that life is only possible when we are able to make the equation from suffering to living it from the perspective of redemption. If you have to walk 30 kilometers, you have to take a step. The suffering of the walk is worth the joy of arrival. There is no resurrection without Calvary. There is also an interesting story. They say that the bald eagle, as time passes for it, its nails become curved, the bang becomes curved, and it loses its hunting power. It loses its hunting power precisely because its claws can no longer hold its prey. You may be beaked. You can no longer eat properly. Reveal yourself too soon. So, at that moment, after having lived a good part of her life, she has to make a decision to show it all. So she takes refuge in the heights. That can take a photocopy, doesn't have quotation marks. She goes through a painful process. Origin stays and stand before a wall and beat her horns, stay, beat, climb, until it starts to hurt. until the bleeding starts, until the one that detaches. The area needs to be rich that no longer serves her. Through the very process of nature's regeneration, the new rich emerges. First it grows, gives, overcomes, as if it were a child or developing again. The real one, see? The process is not over yet. When the beak is already strengthened again, a study is needed. She begins a process of ripping out the prosthetic areas of the new. Who comes? She begins to rip out the nails that no longer serve her, because they are already curved and no longer able to hold the game. This applies to everything. If she continues with those age claws and no hunting power, what will happen? She'll die of hunger. She no longer has the characteristics of an eagle. She's an eagle, but she's an eagle without much power. After this process of expensive lines is over, or just waiting for new claws to grow with you, new cats, young ones reacting, strengthened, fighting without Piari finish there, dying the growth of the claws, is not yet over. Her victory even before Prophet X5. She knows if she needs to pluck her feathers, because the scenes are also old, and she needs new feathers. Her turn is ambiguous. Connecting the new ones is with the movement of the already seen. So start watering coming from the Pine Teva. For this, it will be the process of social security once again. It seems to me that it will be 6 months. 6 months of refuge. That is, half without the problems to live this process. We are stopped. They're like the new cats with the new plumage. Asia can live one step ahead. It begins there, even with the life she had lived up to that point. The action, the moment of restoration of the new plumage, the new creature, the new claws, is equivalent to the same time she lived. It's as if she were beginning. What have you ever stopped to think about? How fertile nature can be in helping us understand the very meaning of my agency's possibilities. Because we too, at many moments in our lives, come to an invincible situation. Either we live the process of loss to start over, or we will die as we are, unprepared, when we are unable to react to life itself, when we gradually surrender, when soon we no longer perceive life within ourselves, when we feel proud to be an eagle, but an eagle without the power to fly, the negative pattern. Eagles themselves think of their own meaning, from the strength of the struggle. I repeat that every Christian is a potential eagle capable of soaring. The same wave is capable of overcoming obstacles. Christianity strengthens us for this, but we still live crawling around the scandal as if we were hens and roosters. We are potential eagles, but we live as if we were chickens, acting in the backyards and the fields. Do you know why, huh? We still haven't had the courage to truly face suffering. There are 2 ways we can face suffering. There are 2 ways we can face the difficulty. We face it head on to overcome. And then, when we suffer, we take on the suffering of the struggle to overcome that moment just as the eagle is capable of overcoming. The suffering of removing the old nails, the old beak, changing the plumage. Either we will spend our whole lives lamenting that we don't know how and can no longer hunt, or we face the suffering of redemption. This suffering that transforms. It is that suffering of the daily decision of waking up and deciding. Today God wants me standing. Today God wants me alive. Today God wants me fighting. Or else we will succumb more and more each day and we will become apathetic. We will always become thinking that we are ready when in fact we only have the appearance of being ready that He asks of us, even though we haven't yet discovered the specific strength of what God asks of us. The Beatitudes are here to demonstrate that we can only reach the beauty of the hereafter if we know how to live the renunciation, the sacrifice, the struggle of a now. You experience this in your life. How many young people today, for example, who are experiencing the great difficulty of a university entrance exam? They don't pass. It's not because the university entrance exam is now presenting itself as a monster. It's because the entire educational process was lived in a haphazard way by the vast majority. They didn't know how to live the sacrifice of that moment. They didn't know how to live the commitment of that class that will make a difference in the final result when they have to give answers. A bad student doesn't become one overnight. No one becomes an alcoholic overnight. No one arrives destroying their home overnight. It's little by little that we let go of our commitment. Families and social situations today are increasingly destroyed. It's not because we made a decision overnight. It's not because we decided to destroy others. When we realize that life is becoming unhappy, when we become incapable of living the human fulfillment that is God's plan for all of us. God doesn't want anyone frustrated. God doesn't want anyone disappointed. God doesn't want anyone fallen to the margins of society. But God wants us standing. But this standing requires that we make an effort in our daily lives, that we have commitment, that we have experience of doing. How can happiness happen tomorrow? I'm already being happy in some way. The very experience of preparing the party. It's already a way of experiencing the beauty of the party. And that's why those who wait too long for the party are disappointed by it. Then they experience the rush. They're left only thinking about what it will be like. Only thinking about what it will be like. You're not realizing that what's happening is already beautiful, already worthwhile. So, when the party arrives and passes, and it turns out that was all there was to it, you weren't able to discover that preparing the party was already a way to be happy, that there was already a hidden joy in every moment of the preparation. Because our house is full of little packages, full of small hidden joys. Because sometimes we think this great happiness will be in a big package. Finally, we'll go through a place and get there. Happiness is there. No. Happiness is precisely having the sensitivity to open a kitchen cupboard, take out a package of rice, and realize that making that rice well, seasoning it well, cooking it well, is already a way to make happiness happen there, at that moment. It's not just about it tasting good later. It's not about the dedication of the preparation process, of observing the preparation process, of knowing that everything there's a detail being placed. Then you discover that happiness is small and that it becomes big. As we put one thing into another, there's a way to be happy. It's not a magic formula, but it's the attitude of each hour, the attitude of each moment. You strive to achieve a final result. An athlete, for example. What differentiates an athlete? Gold medal, silver medal. Sometimes, my friends, 5 seconds, thousandths of a second, got ahead by a difference of thousandths of a second. You know what makes the difference in the end? Sometimes 5 minutes, 10 minutes more training per day. That in the end makes the difference in the life of a gold medalist. And sometimes, in the moment when we realize we need to give 5 more minutes to reach the second point of bliss, the consolation of joy in moments of suffering, in moments of struggle, in moments of humiliation. When we need to give 5 more minutes, we don't have the energy. We can't wait to be free of that. If the athlete starts thinking this way, they will never be a winner. They will never be a winner. And they will always be content with finishing third, fourth, or last because they have already learned to be a loser. They have learned to be an old field without the power to hunt. They have learned to be a cicada eternally underground that never comes out to sing. Why don't they truly live the process of being there to be who they are? The gold medalist is the one who challenges themselves. I'm tired, but I'll train for another 5 minutes. Why is that? 5 minutes today, 5 minutes tomorrow, and the day after will make a difference in my final result. And he has this before him. He has this awareness that he cannot stop fighting, because happiness will only happen in his life. If he knows how to live the commitment of that hour, the difficulty of that moment, if he knows how to absorb with all his strength that moment that is there knocking at the door, that challenge that needs to be overcome, because there are many of us who need to fall asleep. And he just looks at Penha, my God, and starts sleeping in Spain, okay? I'll start tomorrow, like a diet that starts and I'll take advantage. Then I'll start, and then we'll fool ourselves, and we'll only stay in the first part. We continue poor, we continue miserable, we continue petty. We continue sick at 12. We continue to upset. We remain humiliated. We remain dead. We remain the tomb because we no longer live in the perspective of victory, because we lack the heroic courage to bang our noses against the cliff and let fall what is no longer ours. It's like someone who has a family member die and who doesn't accept death. They live as if that person still exists, the suffering extending throughout their entire life. They're unable to say goodbye, unable to bury, unable to understand that people die, no matter how tragic their death. We need to free ourselves from this. We will suffer if we die, but we will suffer so that healing can occur within us. Let's bury what needs to be buried. That's what maturity is. It's like a boyfriend who breaks up with someone who can't accept the relationship is over, forever suffering for the boyfriend who will never return. And there are many people today who live in agony because they don't know how to let people go, don't know how to let people go. Longing. It's the setback of childbirth. It's making a room for a child who has already died. Look how sad it is. Making life an eternal wait for someone who will never return. And those who wait for what is impossible are already happy in the small ways, unhappy in the small parts. Because the beauty of life is discovering. It didn't work out, but now we can go beyond. Those who like to point out what didn't work out are unhappy people. Those who like to point out what hasn't worked out are those petty people. And we are full of people like that around us. How often are we like that in other people's lives? We don't open our mouths to show that things are good. We only open our mouths to show that things are bad. How many times do we do this in our lives? And this is a constant reminder to others that they are worthless. You can only point out the poverty of others. Do you have wealth to present? If not, your accusing finger is useless. It makes no difference in someone's life. The devil, the demon, this opposing force that opposes God is present in us all the time, in our relationships, demonic forces constantly within us. I don't like to imagine the devil as a horn man. Do I? Pointing. No, you don't know how I like to think of the devil, and I think it's a healthier way of thinking. When we are evil in small things, when others build a relationship of evil just to deceive, that is demonic. In us, it is us. It's as if evil were here and I took a part of it and said, now I want to be evil too. I reached out to evil, saying, come to me. That is demonic. That is the devil. And the devil, this opposing force, is the one who stands still on the corners of life, at the doors of our houses, within the hallways of our homes. To put it this way, look what you did wrong. Even if we didn't manage to do it right, God, instead of pointing out what wasn't done, instead of pointing out what didn't work, He simply smiles and tells us, look what can still be done. Look at the beauty that you haven't yet been able to achieve. I live this time underground now of suffering, of struggle, but don't live. Sad? Not. Discover that this struggle, this suffering, is redemptive in your story. Understand that at this moment in your story, happiness is being nurtured, and you will only be able to recognize it as you are able to perceive that at this moment in your life. In your story, there is pain happening, but there is joy being prepared. Only those who have truly known how to be sad know how to see the value of wealth. Those who have truly experienced poverty. That's why the popular saying that so aptly says, everything that comes too easily goes away. It's also very easy for those who didn't have to fight to achieve happiness. It's already been given to everyone. God doesn't change His mind. Doesn't God wake up in a bad mood and say, today I'm going to take back what I've already given? No. If happiness isn't happening, it's because we haven't yet had the strength to roll up our sleeves. Either we haven't yet had the courage to face the cliff, or we haven't yet had the courage to face the loneliness of earth, and life has become lazy, and we are becoming lazy. We weren't becoming capable of assuming the sacrifice of that hour, of that moment, and so we end up blaming God. But what about my part? Your part? Where is our commitment? Where is our daily preparation? What you look ahead at, we say, I can't continue with this downcast mouth like this. I have to have the courage to address my history, my feelings. I have to find the courage to address my wounds, because only by addressing them will I become capable of experiencing healing, the experience of inner reconciliation. How many of us need to do this? How many of us need to live here in this moment? Now, who knows how to escape this suffering that doesn't exist? In this way, I have to have the courage to address my history, my feelings. I have to have the courage to address my wounds, because only by addressing them will I become capable of experiencing healing, the experience of inner reconciliation. How many of us need to do this? How many of us need to live here at this moment? Now, who knows? To escape this suffering that is no redemption. We suffer for the sake of suffering. We live for the sake of living. We go on living half-lives. We go on living as if we were only half. We go on making life only a half-live experience. They say that in China, there is a river called the Yellow River, different from other rivers. Why this river? Does it end? Before. You could ask me, Father, What is the difference between ending and dying? It's not the same thing. No, when we die, we actually enter a new perspective of life. That's not what we believe. So we don't end, we continue in eternity. Death is just a moment of transformation. We transform into something else. We enter another perspective. We enter another reality. And the river dies in the sea. That is, it stops being fresh water and mixes with the salt waters. So what was a river dies in the sea. That is, it has become a sea. The water does not dry up. It mixes with the others. And the yellow river, this river China, it does not have the strength to reach the sea. So it does not die. Does it end? Will it dry up? It does not have the strength to go further. It does not reach its destination. Look, you at the backwater of the waters of a river. It has no other meaning than to lead it to die at its final destination, which is not a sad thing. Death is not a disastrous event for the Christian, nor for the river. It is not dying in the sea. It is reaching the final destination, the long-awaited destination. The movement of the waters wants no other things and not launch it to its final destination. Note that the river is only able to reach the sea to the extent that it has tributaries. This is to the extent that it has other rivers that join it, to the extent that it is not alone, because alone it dies. It ends before dying alone. It does not reach its final destination. How many of us are not also at risk of being this yellow river? The expression itself says it, right? They're in minas, when we are young, yellow emails. And this yellow smile, we say, is it not dull, lifeless? If today you have a yellow smile, that's such a smile that it's ending. It doesn't even begin and it's already over. It seems like it only smiles for, right? Is it over? Now the smile, when it truly is, it dies in joy. It may even end, but it is not over. It died, that is, it transformed. It lit up your eyes. The real smile, the true smile is the one that lights up your eyes. You can tell when a smile is fake, when it's only on your mouth. Then it's yellow. Now, when a smile extends beyond your mouth, it lights up your eyes. And then you don't even need to grin. We look at you, and we can already tell the smile in your eyes. We can misunderstand a single word. Now you'll never be able to tell me, Father Fabio, I didn't understand the way you looked at me. Why the look? Exemption. When we look, it goes without saying. Wedding, I'm not mistaken. A smile, yes, a word. There's no mistaking the look. And that's why, the look, perhaps it's the language of the silent, of those who don't need to say much to communicate you. When you look at your son, you know very well. What are you saying? When you look at your son, can you recognize in him that he would be saying a single look in the midst of so many voices that condemn, becomes capable of getting up? A single look is capable of lifting up someone who has fallen. I wish, deep down in my heart, that today, that look of Jesus we could also find. Who knows, so that we have the courage to get up and not end? Who knows, so that a new hope takes over our hearts, so that we are capable of waiting for death, which is precisely the moment of our transformation, because knowing how to live, we will certainly know how to die. Today is the time. Today is life. Life was not yesterday. What was yesterday is no more. It no longer has the power to decide over us. It may even influence us, but it is no longer decisive because it is gone. It is over. Now, today is the day to be looked at. Today is the day to discover that there is still a way. Today is the day to decide. Who knows how to find a tributary? If today you are a river that is very dry, if today you do not have enough water to reach your final destination, look for the tributaries. We can only reach the end if we have tributaries. If God is there, are you helping through others? If other people are entering our story, if we truly hold on to each other responsibly, not to point out what went wrong, how many children and how many marriages are ending like the Yellow River? Do you know why? Because there is no water to carry it to the end. And waters are words that help us. When little by little, that help us overcome obstacles. Waters are words that are often given and delivered without a word on the mouth, but with looks that encourage us. To overcome the first moment of history, bless today those who are able to seek their tributaries. To seek a good influence in life, to overcome this moment of pain, to overcome this moment of sadness, and to discover that in this there is already a happiness that today life can be new for us, that today life can happen in a beautiful way in our story, because Jesus stands out. Jesus is a certainty. That we still have a solution. I know that many times we give up on ourselves, right? I know that many times we look at myself, there's no way. This beak is too droopy. So it's okay. Another one will grow. You just need to have the courage to pull it out. Is it better to be an eagle without a beak, but knowing that another one is growing, than to be an area with a beak that is big but useless? If there's one thing that is difficult in life for us to experience, it's mercy on the side of the weak. Experiencing mercy on the side of the strong is great. It's very good to give advice. It's very good to give money to the poor. It's very good to help those in need. This is wonderful. It's almost vanity without mercy. I want to see us discover grace and the law of being merciful, living mercy on the side of the weak. When I have to admit it, I'm in need. It's often shameful. We open our hearts and say today that I'm the one who needs help because I'm ending. My claws are no longer good for anything but hurting. I can't get anything good from the world. I go, and whatever I take, this carrion, I can't get anything. I live because I no longer have the strength to take life. I can't feed myself anymore because I'm no longer capable of having conditions, the ability. So we live in the carrion, we live in the past, we live in disappointment, and we don't experience. Doesn't it prove the beauty that there's another side? You know when you become able to discover the reverse. When you look at a piece of cloth, wow, funny, the reverse side is beautiful too. You can almost use it on both sides. But you need to see and discover the grace of looking at the reverse. Looking at your sadness, for example, from the reverse. Sadness from the reverse is always a joy being prepared for the breakup from the reverse. You needed to break off that relationship that was bad for you, that was making you, that brought you pain, that brought you suffering. You look from the reverse and you discover, wow, it's my liberation. The suffering of the breakup, my liberation. Boyfriends and girlfriends who have been hurting each other for years and years and years don't have the courage to break up, don't have the courage to end it. Friendships that are sometimes destroying us. Addictions that are destroying us. Look from the reverse side at the suffering of the breakup, and you discover your liberation. Look at humiliation. Look at it from the inside out, and you discover virtue. And then, yes, we become wise because we discover that it's a different way of seeing the world. There is a way. It's different from seeing that same story, only now through the glasses of Jesus. Before it was desperate. Now, not anymore, because we look through the glasses of Jesus. Before, it was impossible to love that person. And now, lending the heart of Jesus, it becomes easier. Before, it was impossible to forgive, but now, lending the heart of Jesus, it becomes easier. Because the heart of Jesus moves. It transforms me. I become different.